My love for food started very, very young. I think I was 5. One time, one of the ladies in our church brought bread dough. And at the time, I thought, this is kind of cool, right? It's like Play-Doh. I just get to play with it and whatever. Well, the next day, she brought it back after she'd let it rise and baked it. And I knew right away, that's that thing that I made, and now I can eat it. And that was a revelation for me as a kid. My mom says that I made my first Thanksgiving meal by myself when I was 8 years old. I think there was a lot of assistance there, but that's what she says. So I love to be around food, and it is my passion to be able to bring that interest to others as I am teaching. So we're going to be making some paella, which is a Spanish dish based on rice and vegetables. And what I like to do whenever I'm cooking is to go through and first make sure that I have all of my ingredients and everything ready to go. So we do need to do a little bit of chopping, and we'll start with red bell pepper, onion, and garlic. And the easiest way I have found to dice red pepper is to cut it off of its core into planks first. And then we'll just dice up those flat pieces. But when you cut it off like this, then you get all of the seeds and the core and everything all together. I cut them into long pieces first, and then flip them around to their side and cut again. And then we also need to dice an onion, and that is one that I get questions about all the time. How do I dice an onion and not cry? So let's see if we can do that here. So notice that there's a root end and a stem end. I'm gonna trim that stem end a lot, but the roots, I just wanna shave those off. Keep as much of that on there as you can. Cut it in half, then we'll take off the skin. Put those on the cutting board with that root end pointed away from me. I'll just take the tip of my knife and I'll cut through most of the onion, but not all the way through. So I want to be able to hold that onion together, and then turn it 90 degrees, and then we'll chop it again. And that's an easy way to get a dice of an onion. And again, I want to make sure I'm using just as much of that onion as I possibly can, so very little left over. You'll notice that I am not crying, and that's because we use a very sharp knife and go fast. So I just smash the garlic on the side to take the peel off, then slice it really thin, and we will rock the knife back through that garlic again a couple of times each direction and really cut that garlic as small as we can. So I have a hot pan, and it's a medium hot. We're not going with scalding hot here, but we're gonna just coat the bottom of the pan with a little bit of olive oil, and then we're gonna start cooking with our vegetarian protein. Now we're using a baked tofu here, but really any vegetarian protein can work in this dish, so you can kind of play around with it and use what you like. Add that to the dish. You can start to hear that little sizzle. That's how we know the pan is hot enough. So it looks like we are getting our browning on them, and we're ready for the next step, which is we're going to add the onion to this, and we just want to sprinkle it in right on top of those other ingredients. Look at that. Got some great color on all of that tofu, and color is really what we want, because color means flavor as well, so that's a good thing. All right, so the onion is about halfway done. Now I'm gonna reach for the garlic. The garlic is minced, very small pieces, so they'll cook really fast. But just cook those until you get that nice garlicky and oniony aroma coming out of it. There. Now those are halfway done. You're gonna go ahead and add the smoked paprika to this dish, and you are really gonna start to smell it now. That smokiness comes through almost immediately. We want to toss that a bit so that the paprika mixes with the oil. The oil is essential in a dish like this because oil really carries flavors onto your palate, so that's really going to increase the amount of savoriness in this dish. All right, now I'm going to add the red bell pepper to this. All right, now we are ready to add the rice to this. The rice, we want to coat the rice just a little bit with the oil that's still in here. So we'll go ahead and mix that in pretty thoroughly. Be careful at this point that you don't take too long because paprika can actually burn quite quickly. So we want to get this mixed up and get the next ingredient, which is vegetable stock, in with it right away. Now I'm going to add enough of our vegetable stock just to cover the rice. We still have some left over, and that's just fine. We don't need to add all of it right away. We'll make sure that all of our ingredients, especially those grains of rice, are all the way down into the bottom of the pan. And then we'll bring this up to a simmer. And I'm going to start watching. Right away, we're starting to get some little bubbles coming up, so we know we're at the right temperature. At this point, we want to just let it cook for a little while and let that rice really absorb all of that liquid. All right, so it's come up to a simmer. Now we're going to add the herbs to it. So I have some chopped rosemary here. This is fresh out of my herb garden. Incredible is this fresh bay leaf. Dried bay leaves will work here as well. If I were using dry, I would use one, but these fresh bay leaves, I'll use 2 of those. We have saffron threads. What I like to do is just to mash them into a powder in my palm, just break them up a little bit, and then add those to the dish. And you'll start to smell that saffron right away. All right, so we're going to continue to let that just cook for a while and let that rice absorb the moisture. Okay, so our paella has absorbed half the liquid, so we're ready to continue with another half. I'm going to continue adding the rest of our ingredients. These are kidney beans, and those add a really gorgeous color to this. And then we have some green peas as well. Fresh green peas or frozen, either one works just fine. Parsley, I like to add half the parsley now and save the other half and use it as a garnish in the dish at the end. And I'll show you that when we get there. And then now would be the time when you would want to season this with a little bit of salt. I like to use kosher salt, but any type of salt, sea salt, anything else will work just fine. And then we're going to add the rest of our measured amount of stock, our liquid here, and that brings the level just about back up to the top of the rice. So we're going to go ahead and put a lid on this, and we'll just wait for a few minutes until that moisture is absorbed. Now, one thing that is traditional with paella in Spain is that you want to actually have a layer where the rice sticks to the bottom of the pan that you can scrape off at the end. Okay, now we're going to check it and see that it's ready. Sure enough, it has absorbed all of the liquid. A little bit of crust on the bottom, looks great. So now we'll just add that little bit of garnish to the top with the parsley we reserved. And there we go. Vegetarian paella, ready to eat, and this smells amazing, looks really nice, and I am excited for dinner.